Hi, Anand. Welcome to Leaders in Lockdown, the inner game. So happy to have you here.
Yeah, Yoshina, so happy to speak to you.
Very excited about this conversation because it's not every day that you get a global leader who's somebody who's handled so much of risk, maybe late Jan, early Feb. What was it that you experienced?
For us, I think sometime in the end of January, early February, we were already thinking about, will this really become a global problem and do we really need to reorient our business around it?
Yeah.
And we had started to do that. So, for instance, we had started to look into working from home. I run sales and trading businesses, and so there's a I don't know 100-year-old model where everybody kind of sits in close proximity to each other, and working from home is like thought of something more for a technology company, but we were investing in it. We had some people working from home as test projects, and there was one event where someone sitting right next to me, actually, he came out positive with the COVID virus, and it created a tremendous stress on the floor. Singapore government had a very clear guideline where they said that a huge chunk of the floor had to be in a quarantine for a 14-day period.
Okay.
And but we were ready, and we pretty much over a day all went home and were working from home.
I'm just thinking that if somebody sitting next to me turns out COVID positive, I'm going to be really shaken up. Tell me what went through your mind at that time.
Well, millions of people are sort of going through the situation, right? And I think scientists are still trying to figure out what is the extent of spread in society. There's going to be antibody tests which may tell us that it's actually much more pervasive than what we think. This was the first thing which came to my mind, that it's okay, maybe it is actually widely in society already. Remember, my wife and kids were super sweet. They would come and eat their meals outside my door. So, they were outside and we would be like maybe 15 feet away, but they could see me. Or I would go out to the window and, when the kids wanted to see me from the balcony on the other side of the house, they would say, "Cacao, cacao." And then I'd go out and I'd say cacao back to them. And so, we sort of gamified and worked around the stress aspects of the situation.
Yeah, I think that's a very sweet story of the bird call. There was so much uncertainty. And how are you managing your team in this scenario?
At least my style of running an organization or a business is one where you try to get really the A+ players in every function, and they run with the strategy or the part of the problem which we are trying to solve. And so there's a lot of freedom and there's a lot of democracy in how decisions are made, and it's based on a process. It's based on an objective sort of meritocratic approach. But when a crisis hits, decisions need to be made very quickly. We made a lot of decisions which are firm, because I firmly believe that in a once in a 10-year, when a wartime situation appears in business, you have to sort of make decisions in very quick periods of time. And if you build trust with people who you work with, they allow you the freedom to do so and trust you in that. And when things sort of calm down like they have now, you go back to how things were. And I think that was very key in how we have managed it so far.
Running this kind of a very volatile business for so long, you would have developed a great sense of intuition, right? So that's how you are able to see the writing on the wall ahead of others. With so much of data and so much of negative news and so much of doomsday predictions that the markets are going to crash, the greatest depression since the Great Depression, all of that, what is your process of kind of staying sane?
For me, I have to kind of look at stuff and say, what do I think about this? And what is everybody else going to think about it? When you're looking at a problem, you may think that, okay, at a human level, this is not the zombie apocalypse, right? But, and this is not an extinction event, but it doesn't matter because, people may treat it differently, right?
Yeah.
So you have to go with how people are going to treat it. And then you have to look at will the governments do this, and will the governments do that, and will the governments do this? And as things happen, you have to see, okay, so now this becomes the biggest risk. Okay, so now this becomes the biggest risk. Now, to me, if you ask me right now when we're talking, Yoshita, the biggest risk is the underprivileged people, right? So I think that's how I think about it, right? At any point of time, you have your own view of how things are, but you don't know how everybody else is going to act. There's individuals, there's governments, there are people with tremendous power in the situation, and then at any point of time, there's something which is the biggest risk, and you have to see really how to manage that.
The fact that you have to handle so many different people who have different viewpoints, you have a viewpoint. What does this do to you?
I think with people, you have to be empathetic to how they're feeling. You cannot make the mistake of thinking that people should feel the way you're feeling. Different people are struggling with some very hard problems right now.
Yes.
I was talking to one of my colleagues. He mentioned that his young child and his wife are stuck in Mumbai, and he doesn't know how to get them, right? And it's extremely painful to be away from small children, right? So as a leader or as a human being, you just have to acknowledge and appreciate the pain people are feeling. Sometimes the only thing you can do is listen. Sometimes you can facilitate certain things, and if you can, then you must. So I think that's really the key. I'm a strong believer in exercise and health generating a lot of inner energy, which is important for a leader. Then you interact with people, you're not kind of sucking it all out, but you can contribute to the system, right? And so whether it's swimming or whether it's cycling or whether it's going to the gym, I was quite regular. But a lot of these options are not available, right? Because they're locked down. You need to kind of figure out how to manage your energy in the new COVID paradigm, right? And you have to be conscious of what generates energy for you.
So what have you been doing? What generates energy for you when you can't go cycling, walking, running?
Yeah, so that's a good question. Reading generates a lot of energy, so getting some new ideas, that's one. Second, more time with family generates energy. So, I've been playing a lot of board games, Catan, Scrabble with my children. Third thing I would say is you can't be too hard on yourself and looking at the weighing scale all the time. Come on, man, it's COVID, right?
Have there been any surprises for you? Like, have you been surprised by, oh my God, what's this happening? Anything that's like that?
Well, absolutely, right? Absolutely. I've been very surprised. I would say, going in, I would have been kind of 50-50 on really how much work people are actually going to do, right? Because people are working from home. You always think you got to have an eye on people and supervision. And what I realized, well, I always felt this would be the case, but what I actually saw is that people who work, they do it because they love being in flow, and they will work anywhere, and they will do their best work, right? It's not like people did their best work sitting at home, and that was remarkable, right? Yeah. So that was one. The second was that people were empathetic, right? So there was one case where all of us were in lockdown. Some of the guys in lockdown were bachelors, and they didn't have access to groceries. So one guy who was not in lockdown said, hey, I'll volunteer. I'll go to everyone's house and give them groceries, right?
So my closing question for today is Anant going into COVID and Anant coming out of COVID. What's different? What has changed for you?
2 kilos, I think. It's about 2 kilos more. I think I feel even more, I even feel even more convinced at the ability of people to surprise us through their inner strength, through their determination. People have really come together, I think, right? It has drawn out empathy from society. It's brought it out.
Thank you so much for taking out time, Anant. It's been absolutely delightful. And I think I'm going to remember this for a long time to come, that Anant going into COVID and coming out with a 2 kg difference.
That's right.